thought today we could take a look at the polytunnel beds. First of all, it's been so mild this spring, we still have pansies. This is June 2nd, and normally the heat has rolled in and done away with all the pansies, but look, we're still enjoying them here in these containers. Isn't that beautiful? And they are flanking some Blue Arrows juncus, which overwintered beautifully. So that's a perennial grass. And but I'm just amazed that we still have pansies at this time. Now here I have a very tall dahlia, and it opened up. It's got lots of buds here. Let me show you this spent flower I just removed, just to give you an idea of what it looks like. As you can see, this one's spent, but isn't that a gorgeous color? Kind of a corally red. Just beautiful. So I just tossed that in there to break down. And around it I have some red Reuben basil. So it's kind of a nice colorful basil. Thought it would be nice to grow it in here because this is a very sunny spot, but I have some that came out kind of variegated. So that's the interesting thing about seed. You don't always know what you are going to get, but this is what it would normally look like. And this is how it came out variegated, but of course they all taste wonderful. So I've already taken cuttings on that and used the basil. So I'm mixing it up, guys. I'm using herbs and flowers and vegetables. While we're at the top of the hill here, let's take a look at this Dusty Miller. I grew this from seed last year, and it overwintered, guys. I can't believe it. But it has gone to flower, and we'll see. But I believe these flowers eventually turn yellow or a goldish color. And I will definitely save seed and grow this variety again. So it'll be interesting to see if this is a biennial or maybe a tender perennial in my area. But I'm just blown away by its silvery blue beauty. I just pinched back this Cosmos plant. This grew from seed. So I'm hoping to get a nice bush from that. If you cut it here, it encourages growth in the elbows here, and it makes a more bushy plant. And these beds are sort of organized chaos, and some of the things will within a month be moving out, making room for the other things that are growing as temperatures heat up. I'm ignoring all the spacing rules and trying to plant my beds very intensely. My ideal outcome is to have so much lush foliage that the soil is shaded, and I think that's a healthier situation for soil, especially as we go into the hot months here in Maryland. But I do have some nice bachelor buttons back here. I love the color. It's just beautiful. I don't love the way the structure of the plant is, but I think it's fine in this application, and the pollinators are sure enjoying it. And I just love to see a pop of blue. And then my eggplants are getting quite large and putting out the beautiful flowers. Now these are, I believe, are called White Knight eggplants, and they make lavender flowers before they put out a small white fruit. And they were absolutely delicious last year, and that's why I planted 5 more of them across this bed. And then across the front, I have some, I believe these are apricot zebra tomatoes. Looking quite puny still, but like I said, we have yet to have the heat roll in, and tomatoes are one of those plants that just thrives in the heat. So later this week when it gets hot, I think these plants will take off. I have cut back my fava beans. I had gone crazy over the flowers, but they are making huge pods of beans, and I cut the tops off, and that kind of helps finish it finishes the pods. It puts the energy back into making seed, which are inside the pod, of course. So I still have those in there. And the reason I planted those, to be quite honest, was to improve the soil. I have an organic mix in here of mostly composted items from my garden and my friend's garden, but because it's so highly organic, the soil level keeps going down. But I thought to keep it nice and fertile, I would plant some legumes, and fava beans were what I chose. And I think, as you may have seen in my past videos, all my raving about how beautiful these plants were for the longest time throughout the spring, I think it was a good choice, and that is why I'm going to collect the fava bean pods and save the seeds and try to grow them again. I think that kind of cropping is really good for the soil. But ideally, if you were growing it as green manure, you would cut it before it went to flower. But as you saw, I enjoyed the flowers so much, and they were quite a surprise. And over here, I almost forgot to mention, I have 3 of these plants, and that is the birdhouse gourd. And I have so many lovely birds in my garden. I already have a couple of birdhouse gourds hanging that my friend gave me, and I thought, oh, wouldn't that be fun to grow? And I know that they like the heat. And guys, I'm always planning for heat here in Maryland. It gets so hot. Last year it was so droughty. And this year it's been completely the opposite. I do also back there, it's hard to see, have another smaller birdhouse gourd. And then at the end, I have one as well. Let me try to get you in there. That plant right there is a birdhouse gourd. So eventually these should climb all across the trellis, hopefully do well, and then the birdhouse gourds will dry on the vine, maybe even stay up through the winter, and next year I can create some new little birdhouses for my bird friends. Over here I have some bunching onions that are going to seed, and that's wonderful. I'm gonna go ahead and let them do that. We planted these green onions together here, but it'll be nice to have some seed that was created right here in my garden. That often makes some stronger seed. And then I wanted to mention these beautiful calendula. These are porcupine calendula. And I was supposed to have some yellow and orange ones. I haven't seen any yellow ones yet. It was supposed to be a mix of the 2 colors, but I can't get over this orange. It is so bright and beautiful. And it's such a detailed flower. Now I planted this here because I think the flowers are beautiful. It's a great reseeder, but it's also a trap crop, and I don't see too many now, but it does attract aphids away from some of your other plants. So it's a really good thing to have in a vegetable garden, because the aphids will go to the calendula instead of your crops. So that is the messy mix that's going on in here. And eventually the fava beans will come out, and the tomatoes and eggplant will fill in, and the birdhouse gourd vines will climb the trellis. And I'm hoping it's a wonderful full bed of summer growing varieties. I do have some nasturtiums that I planted here, and they look okay. Maybe they need heat to take off too. I don't know. I thought they were more of a cool season flower, but you know, it's also kind of an indication of where the soil is good in the bed. I know that in the back corner, that birdhouse gourd vine is doing so much better than in the middle. So it's probably a reflection of the variation of fertility in this fairly new bed. I did set it up last year, and I keep just dumping stuff in there and dumping some of my compost. Every now and then I'll get some bags of soil, and I do a lot of chopping and dropping. And I should mention that I did add lots of leaf mulch. This is last fall's leaves, and I'm using it as a mulch. I thought maybe once the heat does roll in, it'll help keep some of the moisture in the bed. And let me just show you one more beautiful lavender eggplant flower. So what's nice about some of these vegetable plants is the flowers that form before the fruit are just so lovely. And then we have dark purple opal basil here. This is the small one. And I do get birds that dig through here, so sometimes things get buried, but that's a little harder to see. And then I do have some Genovese basil. So I'm hoping the heat will make that take off as well. And then I do have a few pots of lavender. Here's one. This was grown from seed years ago from a seed packet I was given at Mother's Day by my son Charlie. This bed here is even wilder and messier. It is organized chaos. Everything was planted on purpose, but let me take you through here. Again, I have the nasturtium, which is kind of just a little behind schedule, I think, and I actually think that it does not like heat. So this may be as good as it gets, guys, as far as the nasturtium. But we do have some spectacular plants in here. And the one that has brought me no end of joy is this borage plant. So as you can see, it's not a very pretty plant in itself. It almost has a weedy structure. It's very prickly, so it's good. It's deer resistant and rabbit resistant, but it's the flowers that are just spectacular. And boy, oh boy, do the bees love it. Now, I don't think it comes across on camera, but it's such a silvery look, silver and blue, these flower buds. They're just spectacular. I think they're making this garden look magical. And the pollinators, particularly the bees, are just adoring this borage. So this is a plant I will definitely collect seed from and grow every year in my garden. I love to have things that the pollinators enjoy. Now across the back, I have some tomatoes that are just starting to get some size. Again, tomatoes love heat, and we have had a relatively cool summer. But all of the tomatoes across the back are the large beefsteak variety. My husband requested those, and I'm happy to see that some of them have some blooms. So they're starting to think about fruiting. So that'll be nice. And then in front, I actually have some tomatoes. These are the cream sausage variety. So when they're ripe, they will turn white. It's going to be interesting. I have a feeling it's a plum-shaped tomato. They look oval, but their final color is white. So that's a new one for me. And those are getting nice and tall. Hopefully the tomato cages I have on them will suffice. And then I have spotted in some sweet potato vine that I rooted just from a red garnet potato from my organic grocery store. And I had been rooting some starts from that. Actually here, this particular one, I just stuck the whole potato in. And look, we have some more nasturtiums, and they're such lovely leaves, but I don't have great hopes for getting flowers. So I don't know what's gonna happen. But I also have spotted in here and there in these beds some dahlias. So I'm expecting blooms later on. They're looking like they're getting quite mature. So we'll see how they do. Again, I've got lots of leaves in here that I hope will hold in the moisture. Oh, I did add a hose back here. Let me show you here that I can use to access water to come to these beds. It'll be easier for me or easier for anybody that's helping me keep these beds watered. So I was excited about that addition. And then over here I have some stevia in a pot. Never had that grown that before, and you know, I wonder if I can put it just floating in my coffee. If you guys know how to use stevia, you may have to just dry it beforehand. But if you've used fresh stevia, let me know. It's a new plant to me, but it's awfully pretty. And I have it in a pot right here in front of this raised garden bed. And guys, take a look at how big and bushy my little peach tree from a pit is. It might even be a nectarine tree. I guess time will tell. But it was just a pit I found. I popped it in last fall into this container. I think I'm going to put a little fertilizer on it, even though it's doing so well, and give it even more encouragement. But it's a fast-growing tree, I have to say. Back here, I have stashed some extra tomato plants. I've given away so many tomato plants, but I couldn't bring myself to get rid of them just yet. So anybody that comes to visit will have will be offered tomato plants. I'm kind of pushy with my tomato seedlings. And then let's just peek back here. I have a little bit of Swiss chard, not getting enough sun, but it looks like it's growing. And let's see what else in this bed. Oh, I forgot to mention, I do have some black hulless barley. And it looks like it's already crimping. So that's interesting. And you're not really supposed to harvest it until it's more dry. So this month or next month, I'll just pull that out. And again, this was something that I was just going to grow to improve the soil. Isn't that beautiful, guys? Look at the grains. So I don't know if I'll be using any of this in my cooking. I don't even think it's enough to use in cooking, but I may save the seed and grow it again. But the idea with this is once I cut back the grass, I can chop and drop the grass part, and also the roots underneath will break down under the soil. So that is the idea of planting all of these soil improving crops. Not necessarily for the crop itself. But that's what I tried to do this year, and every year I try to do something organic to improve the soil in these beds, which, as I say, I sort of make myself. But look at how much the bees enjoy visiting the borage flowers. It's just a very popular plant. So guys, it does look like a mess, but there's a lot going on in these beds. Some of it will be moving out to make room for as the summer crops get even bigger. But I think I actually need to add in some more leaf mulch. I think that that's in order before the heat really does roll in, guys. So some of this is looking beautiful and fresh, and some of it's on its way out. But I hope you're having fun in your garden and experimenting with new flowers and new vegetables, because I'm sure having a good time with some of these new varieties. I'll see you next time.